I'm Anna Jones and I'm the chalkboard bird and I'm a sign painter in Glasgow. It feels good to be creating constantly, like finishing off a project all the time, every couple of days, big, small, but just creating something, putting a lot of effort into it, being able to go around and see them up, like having my Instagram page to look through. I feel, on the good days, I feel very proud of what it is that I do. Instagram is huge for this. It's just perfect. It's the perfect place to have an online portfolio of work. It's just set out in a very uniform fashion and you can see it all right there. You just put your best work up and it's a really, I owe everything to Instagram, I would say, for this. There's been a lot of ups and downs in this job. The ups, I would say, a big one is just working for myself. I've never done that before. The difference between working in a bar with infinity people above you and no control over your job, and then being able to work from home a lot of the time and just having full control over what it is I do is huge. It makes it so worth it. All the hard work is so worth it. For the equipment that I use, I have a strong feeling that I don't use the proper stuff. Like, there's been quite a lot of times where I've needed to draw a circular shape of some kind and I've had to get my flatmate Charlotte to hold a certain pot or pan for me so that I can draw around it. And at the time I'm thinking this probably isn't how the professionals do it. I generally just use pens for what I do. It's a brand called Posca pens. They're great. I go through a million of them. I rely heavily just on a ruler, a tape measure, a set square, rubbers, and then I paint illustrations in acrylic paint. There's been a couple of jobs that have been real highlights, and they're not all chalkboard related actually. One was Chambord got me in to be a live artist for their Cocktails in the City event in Glasgow, and that involved me standing in a room full of people drinking cocktails and painting a canvas. When he first asked me if I could do it, I was just like, no. Like, of course I can't, like, absolutely no way. And then I went to reply to say I couldn't do it, and I realized I didn't have a single reason. I was like, and then I realized, just go for it, turn up, see what happens. And they gave me a couple of buzzwords of what to paint. They said, think flamingos, think bird cages. And I rocked up and I spent like a few hours painting this canvas and got fed cocktails all night, and it turned out to be one of the best experiences I've ever had. And I was so close to turning it down just because I was scared. Another really cool one was I got to paint the name on a boat for the captain's gig at the Tall Ship. They have this wee boat and they spent 18 months building it by hand, and they trusted me to paint the name of the boat. It was called Glenlee, and that was a simultaneously really positive experience. It was a huge challenge though. I had to work with materials I'd never worked with before. It involved enamel paint and a brush. But thankfully, I've had a lot of help from people around me. This guy, who's another chalkboard artist in Glasgow, Window Man Mikey, he completely sorted me out. I sent him a message, asked him for some help, and he lent me all of the equipment, gave me some tips, told me what to do, and I wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for him. There's been a couple of times where we've hit disaster. I remember I was doing a sign in Halloumi, which is this really cool Greek restaurant in the city centre. I've done a lot of work for them before. Thankfully, they know me, and they got me to write in Greek lettering on corrugated iron the word toilets, which should be fine, but obviously corrugated iron, I hadn't worked with that before. And in my head, I pictured it being fine to just stencil. Like I cut out a Greek stencil, put a lot of effort into cutting out the letters perfectly, and figured we'll just spray paint it, it'll be fine. And from the first spray, like I spent so long like getting the stencil in the perfect place, got my can of spray paint, had my mask on, the general manager's sitting there watching me do it, and from this first spray it just went like went like all over the wall. It was just a white splotch with like a wee L and an S in there somewhere. Like, it didn't look, and it was like this feature piece of corrugated iron that they have in there. I completely ruined it.
She had a massive freak out and was like, oh no, it's a big mess. But it wasn't, it was actually okay. But I think she's a bit of a perfectionist, which is great. So she went all the way back to her flat, got her paints, and came back here all within about half an hour and painted over all of it. And it looks great now, but she had a big panic about it, which wasn't necessary. When I was looking for somebody to do our A-boards and kind of all the artists sort of work, our company had already used Anna before, so I was passed on her number from them. And once I'd used her once, first of all, her work was really good. She was really easy to work with as well. She came and picked up the board. I didn't have a definite idea, so she listened to my ideas and kind of came back with other stuff, which really helped as well. And since then also, she's been really flexible, which is great. She's just always been able to come and do exactly what we want. Yeah, I find her really easy to work with.
So we're currently in Rioja in Finiston, which is a Spanish restaurant. This is one of the first big jobs that I ever did. They got me in a couple of years ago, and they basically had me cover all of the walls in their menu, cocktails, that kind of thing. I'd never done a job that big at that time, so it involved being at the top of a massive ladder, and it took me, I think, a few weeks to get everything done. So it was a huge learning curve. I got a lot of really good experience from doing that. And then a year later, they contacted me again, and they just said, you know, we've changed our menus, we need a update, can you just do it all again? And I was just like, yeah, absolutely, because I was excited to put into action all the things that I'd learned. I've covered a lot of space in Rioja. One of the staff members referred to this place as my Sistine Chapel, which is definitely a compliment. It's always really nice to come back and have a look at it again once a bit of time's passed, because when I was working on it, I was just staring at all of it every single day, and all you can see is kind of holes or things that could have maybe been done a little bit more perfectly. And after being away for a long time, and coming back, I'm like, yeah, it's good. When I first did the walls, I directly copied a particular font, and then over time, I've edited it in certain ways, probably taking bits and bobs from other fonts that I like, to the point where I would say this kind of script is my favorite font. It's got a few things that I have personally added to it, so it's not an exact font that exists anywhere. But now, having done Rioja that first time, having done it for the second time, this font, I can just do it in my sleep. Like, there's so much of it everywhere. I got so much practice that I can do it extremely quickly, and I'm definitely most confident with it. And it's my favorite one as well. I just think it's really visually nice looking. And then, yeah, just underneath it is just handwritten. So that was enjoyable, just doing the regular handwriting underneath it. Yeah, one of the things that is good about doing this job in and around Glasgow is that when you are walking around, I get to see things up. So that's also another really good reason never to kind of sign off on something before it is totally finished, or before I'm happy with it, because then I have to continuously look at it whenever I'm around. So yeah, this one was a really good one, because they said to me they were happy for it to be really visual, more kind of like a work of art type thing, rather than like your traditional, quite basic chalkboard. It was good to be able to put my strengths into play, where I was able to make it more arty and a bit more individual. That was something that I fought for a really long time. I always used to think that I had to be like your really classic, like pub chalkboard kind of chalkboard artist, and then I've realised that actually what I was fighting that whole time could be my USP, which is precisely what they booked me for here, so it worked out really well. Just recently I did a job on site, which does happen often enough, but this one was a really good one, the one that I just did. It was through an air at this holiday park, and I had no idea what to expect, but they wanted so many boards done in such a short space of time that we all agreed that I would stay over. So I didn't know what to expect or where I'd be staying, but I turned up, and just from the get-go, it was such a good job. They, first of all, were just really, really clear about what they wanted. And from the moment I started, I think I did the outline of one word, and the manager came over and he was like, "You've exceeded my expectations." And I was like, "I've done one word, we've got 20 A1 boards to get through in 3 days." But just from the beginning, everyone was so encouraging, and they were continuously saying thank you, you know, like this, they were really happy with it. And I said by the end of it to one of them that I just really appreciated their kind words, because a lot of the time people don't really say anything, or they don't say thank you or that it's good or whatever. And one of the girls there was like, "That's disgusting." She was just like so shocked that people weren't like that all the time. Yeah, and I stayed over in like their nicest caravan, looking out onto it, had a seafront view, and they gave me a box of chocolates and a card to say thank you as well. And I was just cheesing. Jobs like that are so enjoyable that it makes everything really, really worth it. It makes the hard work feel like it really pays off.